computer. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of eJenn Solutions, the podcast series. I'm excited to bring to you today Wei Houng from the Six Figure Academy, and we're going to talk about social media. But first, I would like you to know a little bit about him. And he has a background in computer science and engineering with a cohesive minor in business management from UCLA. And he is a certified life coach, master practitioner, and trainer of the NLP system, right? And a master practitioner of hypnotherapy. And you have a long other list that I'm going to go into, and I know it's going to be a tongue twister, but you're also a master practitioner of mental and emotional release techniques, correct?
Right.
I got it all? Did I
Most of
miss
it,
anything?
and there's energetics, and then there's the ULT, and then there's all kinds of different things. Yeah. So,
But your biggest success has been helping entrepreneurs release and get over money anxiety. And that is actually how, well, we've known each other even before this, but you've helped me personally in that area. So I'm hoping you can tell us just a little bit about what that is, money anxiety, and how that came to fruition for you.
yeah, that's a good question. Oftentimes people they go through life wanting to choose their path, choose their niche, right? And quite frankly, what was cool about this money anxiety piece and this whole money niche, I didn't choose it. My audience actually chose it for me. They gave me the feedback, and I said, "Oh, okay. Well, that's what I'll be doing."
Uh-huh.
And as it continued to evolve, money anxiety ended up being more of a symptom of something even deeper, which we focus on primarily, which is re-engineering. I'm finally using my major dad, bad money stories.
Yeah.
So everybody grows up with a money story of some sort, what they learn from our parents, our society, our culture, our school. And whatever we buy into, we call it a bad money story if it is keeping you in a financial circumstance that doesn't serve you or doesn't help you in your business or your life.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's huge because if you keep replaying those money stories and thinking about them, it does hinder you in your business. It really does.
Oh yeah, we call it the keys to the kingdom when it comes to entrepreneurship. You get rid of that bad money story, just think about what it'd be like to go through life without stressing or worrying about money. No matter how much money, how little money, or how much money you have, money anxiety doesn't care about that. It'll show up no matter what, just shows up in different forms. But imagine what your life would be like when you wake up every single day, not really stressing or worrying about money, so you can focus on what you're actually here to do, especially as an entrepreneur, solving problems in the world.
Right. And I mean, so your podcast, because you have a podcast as well,
Yes.
and that podcast really goes into money stories that people have realized that they've been telling themselves. And you're right. If you go to the podcast, which they can go to sixfigureacademy.com and go from there, whatever format they want to hear you in. But it's all relatable stories. Money doesn't grow on trees. You won't be loved if you have money. I mean, the list kind of goes on.
Making money's hard.
Yeah, money's hard. Entrepreneurs never make money. You'll never make money if you're an entrepreneur. Businesses will take all your money. There's just all those things that, and not that our family purposely did it, but
Right. I still remember my mom telling me money is hard to make, but easy to spend. I was like, oh, okay. And I totally bought into that. And sure enough, I made my life as hard as possible to make money, but spending it was like, a cakewalk.
It's a breeze.
It's a breeze. So easy.
But so I think today what I was hoping that you would share with us is a little bit about how you use social media to really get your message out. And I really like that point that you brought out too, that it was really the audience that came back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So there was definitely a feedback from you in your social media efforts. So why don't you start from the beginning as to how you were working with businesses at that beginning?
Yeah. As it pertains to social media.
Yeah, we could do that. I think I just want a little background because how long have you been working at the Six Figure Academy? Because it's been a while now.
Yeah, the Six Figure Academy is going into its fourth or fifth year already since its inception. And it really was a byproduct. I transitioned to the Six Figure from my previous coaching business that I was in, where I partnered up with 4 other people. And that one was called the Life Oasis, which is really cool if you think about an oasis for life. And the whole concept behind that was it's supposed to be a safe place for anybody and everybody to go to. Because if you think of what an oasis is in the real world, well, in the animal world, animal kingdom, it's a safe place where predators and preys can come together to a watering hole, you know, drink water without worrying about being attacked by, and you see these amazing pictures in the wild where nature just knows. You got a lion drinking water right next to like a zebra or another, you know, another animal that normally eats, right? But
Mm-hmm.
because it's a common watering hole, it's an oasis. So there was that business before, and so went on for a few years and stuff like that. And prior to that, it was a lot of consulting, a lot of, because I realized the reason why I ended up just deciding to just be a coach and be a consultant for entrepreneurs was I was already doing that for decades, just in different costumes, if you will, different industries, different job roles and everything, because how I behaved in every single one ultimately led me to realize that I love to teach, I love to train, I love to guide, and then taking my own experiences and experience I've had with other clients of my clients and being able to turn that into teachable material so that people can be, so it can be universally digestible, if you will,
Yep.
you know. And then from there, how I got into, you know, the Six Figure Academy was basically the concept behind it. You know, people say, oh, it's just Six Figure Academy, just like any other six figure this, six figure that. But I think a lot of people don't realize that the Six Figure Academy really is a metaphor. It's a metaphor for most of us, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. When we first finished school, or even if you didn't finish school, when you first stepped into the workplace, one of your first goals, aside from just making enough to live, right, was
Yep.
probably not making 24,000 a year, 30,000 a year, 50,000 a year, right?
No,
The
we wanted
first
to
big
make,
goal,
yeah, big money.
big money, was
Uh-huh.
$100,000. That was the big goal. But it wasn't because that we wanted to see a pile of $100,000 sitting on our table, right? What we were looking for, what that represented was our future, our freedom. Now we can think about having a family. Now we can think about having a home, buying the
Yeah.
car that we want. It was a metaphorical representation of the dreams that we had in our life
Yeah.
up to this point.
You didn't have to worry. You didn't have to
Yeah.
worry about money at that point.
I forgot to close the door for my studio. Sorry about that. I was like, what is that noise? But yeah, and so that's what the Six Figure Academy is all about. And then when people come in and say, oh, this is not just another six figure business thingy, it's more than just about the money. You know, people say, you know, someone gave me this label, even the label that I call myself now when I go out there, aside from the money anxiety guy.
Mhm.
I didn't even bring that label. Somebody dubbed that to me on another interview, and they said, Wei is an entrepreneurial lifestyle coach. And I said, wow, I like that.
Yeah, that's very true because ultimately that is what you're looking for. It's that lifestyle.
Right. I mean, what, aside from wanting to solve a problem in the world and making money, so what is it that truly draws people to the craziness of entrepreneurship? Because honestly, it's not, it's not the most fun ride as an entrepreneur.
No.
I mean, anybody who decides to be an entrepreneur, first thing I say is that check in with yourself to what level of crazy are you if you want to be an entrepreneur? Because there's a lot that goes on as an entrepreneur. People don't realize that. And truly, there's a little bit of craziness that needs to be in there within you to actually survive being an entrepreneur. But what drives that is not only you're solving the problem, but also to create a lifestyle you otherwise could probably not create with as much freedom or ease working for somebody else.
Hmm.
Right. So that's really kind of why I like working with entrepreneurs, because us crazy, we all kind of should stick together.
I was just going to say birds of a feather.
Crazies of a
So,
feather stick together, right?
right? So, how did you start to get your word, the word out about that? And I know for a fact that I'm hinting towards your video work.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, you know, like most entrepreneurs in the beginning, when you first launch, there's not a huge budget for marketing. It's not like you could bring in a massive marketing team to just go, hey, you know, this is what we want to do. Put out the print ads, put out the billboards, the commercials on TV. Most entrepreneurs don't start off that way. And what I love about the world we live in right now is the fact that there is social media. And I still remember my very first workshop that I did 23, 24 years ago now. There was no internet back then. I put one of those flyer tear-offs. That was how I promoted my workshop. I took those flyers with the tear-offs on the bottom.
With a phone number?
You have the phone number.
Like on the bulletin boards? Or
Yeah. And so I was putting in coffee shops and libraries and everything like that. And my way of RSVPing, finding out how many people are actually going to show up, was to go back to check every single flyer I put up to see how many tear-offs were there. Never mind the fact that most of them didn't even call. They just told us, I just used, that's my RSVP. So I set up the approximate amount of chairs. And mind you, this is the first time I'm doing anything like this. So I didn't know about attrition rate or how many, any of that stuff. So however many I counted was however many chairs I bought and set up, right? And I sat there and I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited. And no, my very first workshop, nobody showed up. But I did it anyway.
No.
But I did it anyway, and I'm glad nobody showed up because it was a train crash. I mean, it was a train wreck. I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad nobody showed up. I probably should have practiced going through this a couple times from a logistics standpoint. These days, I've done it so many times. I know the sequence in my mind of how I could essentially present every single time. But back then, it was a whole new ball game for me. And so I said, I need to practice this. And it's a good thing that happened. So I'm very glad that I said to myself, I need to go through it at least once. And so I did.
Yeah.
So now fast forward to today. I love today. I love the world we live in today because you could literally sit at home without having to drive all over town promoting something, and through a few bucks here and there, or not even that, just being active on social media platforms, you can get the word out. So in the beginning, when I started, I said, okay, I don't have a huge budget, but I need to make sure that if somebody does due diligence on me, they can find content on me. So I made a commitment that every other day, and sometimes there were weeks where I did it every day, I cranked out a video. I put out a short 1 minute, 2 minute video, posted it on all my platforms and everything like that, and just kept putting it out. Fortunately, in the previous business, I got a systematic approach down on how to really quickly grab some footage, post edit really quickly, quick and dirty, nothing fancy, put an intro and an outro, and that was it, you know. And, you know, I didn't get caught up in trying to make it too perfect. Good is good enough. And I just kept putting it out. And I think the key to what helped me get out there more efficiently in the beginning was the fact that I was consistent, and I wasn't caught up on making it too perfect. In fact, you know, I actually prefer live type of stuff now. So that's why I love Facebook Live. Periscope, when it first came out, I was all over that. Now Facebook Live and YouTube Live and everything like that. Now I do almost no post editing. I rather just do a live and just say, oh, that's good enough. Throw an intro, outro on it. I'm good. And then let it be. And now we have things where you can throw the intro and outro live. We don't need, I mean, you barely need to do any post editing. So it's so cool how social media has evolved, because, you know, now I know even if I were to start a new business, it's going to be even easier just to get content out there. And I think the key thing was just getting content, getting things out of my head. I would walk down the street now. There was a period of time I was walking down the street. I had people come out and they say, hey, you don't know me, but I love your videos. I'm like, oh, hi. Okay. And there was one day when someone was visiting me, we were having lunch. 3 different people came out and made a comment about my podcast, about my video, or about the post the other day. And then my friend who hadn't seen me in a while was like, I didn't realize that I was having lunch with a celebrity. What's going on here? I was like, I don't know, it's local and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Local
but
restaurant.
that's good. I mean, that's where you start, is local.
Yeah. And if you can master the local piece, and that's why I like to tell a lot of brick and mortars, people have businesses that can serve their local community. Learn to master your local community, because then it's much easier to kind of branch out that way, right? So, so a lot of what I did in the beginning was just quick and dirty, just getting stuff out. I mean, just having an intention every single day to put some piece of content out, a micro blog on Facebook, a little quip or a post on LinkedIn. I don't do a lot of Twitter, so I just link it to my Facebook. So whatever I do on Facebook, just go put it on Twitter. And now with Instagram, you know, I mean, it's so funny. My most popular posts sometimes are just like It's like I actually took a picture of the ground and I posted it. I mean, it's like one of those things. It's like, what? And the people, I do it all the time. All of a sudden, it's like the most popular post. You shouldn't. And then like the algorithm in Instagram or Facebook says, oh, you should actually advertise this or put some money and push this out. I was like, dude, that's a terrible post. What do you mean? When I spend money on a picture of a ground? What's happening?
But it knows people like, because it got obviously more exposure, it got more reach, and so that's the algorithm. And they're like, oh, by the way, this is something your people like.
I
They
know.
like the
I
ground.
know. God, you just made me think my people are kind of like
What?
I don't want to say stupid, but I mean, come on, that was a stupid post, but they like it, okay? But and which goes to show you never know. And one of my biggest challenges with social media, and you might agree with this, is that one day your audience might like one thing, and you do it again the next day, and they're bored with it already. They don't even. It's like they're so fickle, you know.
It's spontaneous and it's something different. So it just
Yeah.
depends on what showed up in their news feed that day. And if they're used to seeing certain things from you, changing
Mhm.
it out drastically has a big difference. But also hashtags. If you start to use the same hashtags, you'll start to see things go down. But if you change it up to different hashtags, which you
Mhm.
probably may have done with the picture of the ground, and
Right.
that probably just pushed it into a different area for you. So
Right.
that's, huge. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, I love that you started with videos. Where did you get the content for those? Like, where did you come up with ideas for the videos?
Well, this is a little bit more esoteric answer then, because what I typically do, because of the nature of what I do,
Mhm.
I- usually when I wake up in the morning, and I did this a lot, when I wake up in the morning, I basically sit there and just be in the inquiry while I'm doing my meditation. What does the world need from me today that I can provide? And I just kind of pay attention to whatever comes in. And whatever comes in, if it strikes a chord, I'm like, oh, I could totally talk about that. And what's interesting is, over the years, as I consistently done this, you actually kind of train your mind to think that way. So creating content becomes easier and easier and easier. One of my biggest pet peeves, and when someone goes, oh, you're just gifted and natural this, I'm like, no, this is a developed muscle. Just like people say, God, you're so athletic and you seem so fit. It's like, yeah, you should have seen me when I was a kid. I was a rail. I was like a toothpick. People thought I was going to die in early age. I had a PE teacher literally say that. I'm like going, that's not
Oh,
nice. But I was like a stick, a twig. I went to the gym. I worked out. I understood what physiology in my physiology and what my body needed to be able to get to the point where I can actually look like the sports I play,
mhm.
and so I think the brain and the mind and the critical thinking skills required to create content consistently is a muscle. And when I first started getting into this whole internet marketing thing back in 2006, 2007, I heard from somebody that if you want to improve the page rank of your website, just blog every day. And that's what I did. I blogged literally every day. I was posting something every day. And sure enough, back when page rank was important, within like 3 months, my website was page ranked like 5,
Wow.
which is really high.
Very high. Yeah.
Right. And it's because I kept putting out content. I put out content about the IT stuff I was doing, introspective stuff, and I just categorized it accordingly. So it was kind of a mishmash, but still, I was putting stuff out. But then it started to train my mind on how to think in a particular way where you can create content on a regular basis. You know?
Well, and then too, you watched the analytics of that too to see what people liked. But
Mm,
getting your mind, as you said, it helps you because as a business, a lot of business owners, they're in that sell mode. And really at what you said, when you're thinking, you're meditating, you're thinking about what can you help the other person with, how can you
mhm,
help them, how are they going to perceive you and come in and ask for your advice, and what can you help them with. And it
right.
just takes like a little tweak to kind of look at it from a different angle. And then,
Mhm,
like you said, if you're consistently doing that, that means everything in your day, oh yeah, I can talk about that. Oh yeah, that's going to be a good question that I can answer for people. And it
mhm.
just continues. So that
Oh,
was
that's why
awesome.
Yeah, that's why I love Evernote. I mean, I could show you real quick just like a
I was just gonna
glimpse.
say, how do you use Evernote then for that? I'd love if you want to share it. I know
Yeah,
that's
I'll show it. So I have all my notes and everything on here, right? I can't. It's probably
you
too
know.
bright. But what I do is I have a notebook called Video Content Ideas. Now I'm volume 2 because the volume 1 got too long. And basically, I'll just jot down different ideas as I come across them throughout the day. And then that way I have a repository. So when if I ever get stuck, like, what do I talk about today? I just say, oh, let me talk about this and this and this and this. Turn on the camera, just start talking about it, because again, good is good enough. I've learned over the years to concise down so I'm not so verbose when I'm speaking, and make sure that I watch the time. 1-2 minutes, done. I don't mind giving away the farm, but what I found when I gave away too much, people get fire hosed and they don't do anything. So it's like nibbles,
I get
nibbles.
overwhelmed. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's one of the things that's really important to remember. What we overwhelm ourselves, for those that are thinking about putting content out there, is that, from my own experience, that what gets me stuck sometimes is I forget that I know I am the expert doing what I'm doing, and my audience may or may not even have an inkling of what the solution is.
Hmm.
And so if I give away the farm, which I can, but too much of it, they're gonna be like, and it puts
It's
them
over.
into analysis paralysis. So little appetizers, little tidbits, enough to give them this, like, a small, tiny shift, has allowed me to take one concept and break it down to 10 videos. Because it's
That's
all these little tiny bites.
That's really good advice. That's very good advice. I know. Well, I was talking to someone about SEO in the last podcast, and we were victim to that too, because we started talking and using words, and I had to stop and
Everybody.
say, I don't think everybody knows what that means,
Yeah.
but it just happens, especially when you're passionate about what you are your business, what you're selling, or what you're doing. It happens. So that's
Yeah.
really good advice.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an entrepreneur and you're passionate about what you do, you're never gonna stop improving your craft. You're on constant. I mean, I know every time I talk to you, I can rely on you because you're 24/7 social media. You love it. Even if you didn't have to do this as a business, you would probably still do it because it's just a fun thing to do. And and what happens? We forget that our audience isn't like us. And so when we give them, it's okay to chew it up. Parents chew up, or like birds, they chew up they pre-digest the
Ew.
food and then give it to the. So in a way, that's what we're doing. We're distilling it down. Oftentimes when I work with geniuses and brilliant people who've invented and created things, and they're trying to sell their stuff, I said, nobody understands what you're saying. They're nodding their head because they don't want to look stupid. You
Right.
need to dumb it down. And in a way, in the beginning, and it'll make it easier for us to create content too. If you keep
Mhm.
it simple, then you won't get caught up in, like, oh, did I say that right? Did I say that right? No, just keep it really simple. But that simplicity is what will bring people in, will
Yep.
draw people in. I found, anyway, from my experience.
And into your product, or how you're helping them with
Yeah.
their problem, all that good stuff.
Or just into the world. I'm more excited when someone steps into my world and starts to listen. I mean, I had one listener who was there from the very beginning of my podcast, maybe 3 years later, decided, oh, I want to join one of your programs. I was like, oh, well, that's cool. He says, yeah, I've been listening to your podcast since it was like 6. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, great.
That was
And that
episode 6, and you're on what
episode
now?
6, I think. Yeah. And we're 70 something of another right now. And we do it every week. So, um, yeah, I
Yeah.
have yet to hit the 100 mark. But if you include all the previous versions of the podcast, yeah, we're
Mhm.
into the hundreds and stuff like that. But because I kept changing the name and changing
That's right.
the focus to kind of refine down or broaden out, um, that's why it's where it is right now.
So, do you have any fun stories for us?
About,
Well, you kind of already told us about being a celebrity when you go out now.
oh, for social media and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So what's interesting is that, for a while I was so into this technology stuff. People started asking me to speak about it. So I
Mhm.
started speaking about Facebook and started speaking about LinkedIn and stuff like that. And what's interesting is when you are passionate about what you do, and I think that the big thing about social media is people want to see the slice of you that reflects the passion behind the human behind your product or service.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happened, I ended up attracting people who had wanted nothing to do with social media, but they said, I don't know, my daughter is dealing with some issues, and for some reason I thought about you. I'm like, huh? Says, I know you as the Facebook, LinkedIn guy because those are the only times I've seen you. But for some reason, I feel like, and I think what people are calibrating on is how committed you are to your purpose, how passionate you are to what it is that you do. And people can tell, even when I'm talking about Facebook and LinkedIn, I'm all about human behavior patterns, human nature, optimizing, the entire human being. And so I ended up getting, you know, um, a client that was struggling in life, not knowing what she wanted to do next in life. Now she's thriving. She's a beacon of light everywhere she goes with people that she works with. But prior to that, I mean, she grew up with certain challenges that a lot of kids going through, like cutting and thinking of suicide and all those
Oh,
different things, and being on medication. Got her off medication, all of a sudden. But the thing is, how did people then go from Facebook and LinkedIn thinking that, okay, let me think about Wei when it comes to those type of things? And I think this is what's so cool about social media is it gives you an outlet to kind of be you,
yeah.
where people can connect with you as a human being, provided that you're not different off camera than you are on camera. Because I know there's some people who are like that. I was at an event and I spoke and I was on stage and doing my thing. And then I was at the end, at the end of the night, I went to the bar and I was hanging out with some of the participants and stuff like that. And one of them said something really interesting to me. And she was just looking at me and I was like, what's going on? And she goes, you're the exact same person in the bar than you are as you are on stage. I'm like, oh, should I not be? He says, no, no, no. I'm just not used to that because every time I go to these events and I see someone speak on stage and I meet them afterwards, they're like completely different people. I'm like, huh, that's weird. And I think a lot of times where people struggle with social media is kind of the same thing. If they suddenly meet someone that they look at online all the time and they meet them in real life, they're like, what's the disparity? There's a
Mm-hmm.
disconnect, right? And I think what social media, those who succeed on it, what people are really wanting to see is that authenticity, that realness, within reason, of course. There are these kids out there that are just a little bit too real, and it's off-putting.
Yeah.
So especially as a business, I feel like you kind of have to have that balance a little bit, right?
I think it makes you more approachable too. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes as you become more knowledgeable or you have a little bit more passion, you can become very intimidating to people in your business and in your
Mm,
industry, not for any
right,
reason other than they may feel, they're going to ask that stupid question. There is no
right,
stupid question.
right.
But so I think the videos and just showing like little bite-sized pieces, I think for any business it's important. But I love the video aspect because you see real people. It's not stock photos, which we've already
Right.
talked about in podcasts before.
Yeah.
It's not it's not just print. It's I can see you in, eye contact and everything
You have no
else.
idea. This is
So
totally a pre-recorded video that you're seeing right now.
I
I'm psychic that way that I know exactly what you're going to ask.
what? I did not. But we aren't editing this, so
No, and that's what I love about the live piece. I mean, it doesn't allow you to get away with fakeness for too long. I mean, you can, but sooner or later, something's going to happen and you're just going to be like, okay, how real am I going to get? I've had so many times I'm in the middle of a live and the technology would fail. Do I cut it and say, we got to start over? No, I say, okay, here it is. Let's see what we can do about it.
we'll be back.
Right.
Well, and yeah, and I think honestly, for both you and I, and for me especially, because you're quicker at it, but the live version is just reduces editing, and that is my pain point. I can't do the editing, so that's why these are live. Whether I mean they're recorded, but it's live because I am not editing things out. So
Yeah.
more of a
And
time
again,
thing.
it's that realness that starts to come through.
Yeah.
When people know it's live, then they either cinch up or they just or they relax and or and you as a host basically, and that's what I love to do, is getting people comfortable. I've had so many guests come on and they're just like nervous, is that they've never done this before, and then it's just a conversation, let's just talk,
I think
and
that live aspect makes people nervous. And so,
yeah.
yeah, but it shouldn't. It shouldn't at all. It's like being in a group conversation.
I know, it's like you
Yeah,
spend your entire life live.
true.
How
Even
different is
that
it
road
today?
rage incident on the road, right?
I know, right? And it's so funny because I talked about that one time. I mean, just recently on a Facebook Live, I talked about 4th of July, and
Oh,
then, people said they were going to come, but they didn't show up, and I was talking about that, and people thought I was totally triggered about it. I was like, no, you have no idea. I'm a student of life. I love taking things that happen in life and turning it
yeah.
into nuggets of whatever, right? And it's funny because the reason why I talked about that, because on Facebook events, right,
Mhm.
you can say I'm going, or I'm interested, or decline, right?
Right.
It wasn't like yes or no and then I'll decide later. You can say you're interested, right? And
Which is
so
what I always do. So I'm not committed.
exactly. And so part of me is like, okay, great. So I made a whole video about commitment around that, the types of commitment that gets in the way of your money flow. So it was an inspiration for that. And all of a sudden people were focusing on that it totally bothered me and this and that. I was like, no, it actually didn't bother me. I just thought, that's interesting. Oh, that's a pretty cool piece of content. I could talk about commitments, because honestly, different type of commitments will impact your money flow. Because I've seen it
Yeah.
so many times, and I just saw it show up right there in that moment. It was an inspiration, and people said, "You're totally bothered by it." I was like, "No, I'm not." Okay, but whatever.
But that's an
So,
example of taking your everyday life, seeing
mhm.
something and turning it into content for your video.
Right, right. And as time goes on, as you're creating content, you'll find yourself doing more of that. So again, it's another muscle. It's not something that you're just born with or anything like that. I mean,
No, I like how you said that. It's a practice. It's
mhm,
exercising that muscle, and you do have to commit. And consistency is so important.
yeah.
So,
And
any
not being
you know,
attached to, oh my God, that was terrible. Who cares? Who
yeah. I
cares?
mean, my very first blog post was, "This is my first blog post, and I'm going to work, and then I'm gonna have wine tonight." I
And
mean, that
you
was.
type like that too, right?
I think it was.
Yeah,
For
that's
those that
horrible.
can't see or who are listening, I'm using like chopsticks, fingers, one and two. But I mean, and then I was like, oh my gosh, this is live. And like everybody's gonna read it. And I had a counter on the site, like 2 people saw it, which was probably my mom and me. So, you know, you don't have to worry too much when you're first starting out. But anyway, so
Yeah.
I appreciate you telling us that story and helping us with content. Do you have anything that you want to share with people who are listening? Like any
Yeah.
offers? Or I didn't ask you.
But
I didn't ask you before this if you had anything for us.
oh yeah. I have lots that I can offer. I
You have a
mean,
really nice ebook.
yeah, I have a really good ebook. You can go to go.thesixfigureacademy.com, and it's an ebook called From Money Anxiety to Six Figure Mastery. And then what comes with that after you get that ebook is like a 5-part e-series that takes you even deeper into that. And there's so many different cool things that we do there. But, when it comes to, you know, um, the social media piece, I mean, I speak to a wide range of age groups, and one of the big things I hear about all the time is people who are adamant about staying off of Facebook or staying off of LinkedIn, and they run a business. And and if they were doing a 9 to 5 job, working at a company and stuff like that, I'll be like, okay, whatever. But then when I hear things like, I mean, how many billion people are on Facebook right now?
Yeah.
Hey, I know that. I know that
Yeah, I'm
face.
sharing a screen now. So this is the go dot the six
The Six
figure
Figure Academy.com.
academy.com. Yeah. So everyone can see the watching the video.
Okay, so yeah, so you go there, just
Intense.
put your name and email in, real simple, not too complicated, right? Um, so how many people are on Facebook now? You're the expert in terms of users.
Millions. And I don't know, like right now, there's a little bit of a fluctuation.
Hmm.
So
It's like 2.4 million was when I was talking about it, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, let's
Yeah, so
Google that.
2.4 million. So
Figure.
let's say 2 million, okay? Even if it's 2 million. No, it's actually more than so
It's
it
got to
was
be
like
more. It's yeah. I thought it
it
was
was
in the
like
7
4
billion.
oh 7 billion.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's
When you
billions.
think
It's in the
worldwide.
yeah, it's in the billions. So, if you think about it, if you own a business and you have an aversion to social media, get over yourself.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, that's like, akin to like, the railroad industry saying, oh, railroads will be here forever. Airplanes will never work. People won't want to drive places. And then look what happened to the railroad industry. I mean, they're gone. If you are in a business and you have yet to engage on a social media level, and it's because you have this own perception of, oh my god, it's the bane of civilization, that's technology. It's called evolution and technology advancement. So you have a choice. You either move forward and embrace this, and if you can't understand it, pay someone who does, and then that way you can keep your business relevant. If not, then it's an ego thing. Get over yourself. It has nothing to do with your your thoughts that, oh, it's a bad thing, it's going to destroy civilization. No, it's not.
Or
It
are they
really
sell
isn't.
my information? So we
Oh,
so
there
I
are
was
some.
way off. The number of active Facebook users worldwide as of the second quarter of 2018.
Mhm.
What did they say? It has
2
one
billion.
point. Wait, I just lost the whole figure.
2.23 billion.
Yeah,
2.23 billion. Yeah,
billion.
I
There it
mean,
is.
we're still talking about billions, but
Yeah,
yeah, 2.23
and
billion.
that's active. So I'm not sure what they use as the word active, like how many times they log in. Is that once a day, or what they consider? But
Yeah.
yeah, that's
I
active.
mean, even at 1 billion, if let's say you were able to attract 0.00001% of that for your business, you would probably have more business than you knew what to do with.
Right. And it's still the most active, it's the most popular social network worldwide.
It is.
And so I'll
Yeah.
put a link to this stat in the video or on my blog so people can
Yeah. And
come and
here's the
see it.
thing is that, a lot of people say, well, it's been around for a long time. It's getting old. People are moving on. But I'll tell you, the more mature a social media platform is, the more you have money spenders on there. Okay. And people say, well, I mean, the hot thing now is Snapchat. The hot thing is that it's hot because the young kids are on it, but the young kids don't have the money.
Right. Or they have to
You
figure out a way
know
to monetize it. So I'm going to go
Yeah.
back to Vine, Vine. Remember Vine?
I love Vine.
Everybody was like, oh, you got to have your business on Vine. 6-second videos. Literally pulled the plug one day. All your content,
Everything's
all that
gone.
money spent for what?
Yeah.
So
Nothing.
you have to be careful with social sites. And so playing on the ones that are existing and
Right.
older.
That's why the seasoned ones are the ones where you're going to actually track you. If you market there, if you put your content there, is probably it's a human behavior thing.
Hmm.
Smart people who will spend money are not going to go to something that is volatile and will be gone the next day potentially.
Right.
And so, that's
Remember
why,
MySpace?
yeah, I do.
MySpace is still out there.
It is out there. I still have
Yeah.
a profile there. It
So
has
do
my
I. I
music.
got a friend request or somebody connected with me. I'm like, oh, that's
Oh, I
right.
don't even
Someone
get
likes me
emails
on
on there.
MySpace.
I think someone posted my music up there from a CD that I had out there, and I'm like,
Yeah, it's a place for music now, which is I think what they originally were, and
mhm.
originally, but yeah, it's definitely for the music,
Yeah,
lover.
Friendster is gone though.
Well, and
Friendster,
Napster, all that
Napster.
stuff.
Well, Napster is a peer to peer, was a peer to peer platform. But I think Friendster was
That's
like
true.
before was like the one of the early social media platforms.
Yeah, and then MySpace and then Facebook is
Yeah,
pretty much
Hot or
how I
Not.
remember it. Huh?
Do you remember Hot or Not?
No, I wasn't that into Facebook, but that was the very beginning, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Of
Hot or Not
Facebook?
was actually my buddy from high school. He created it. So it was like another it was a kind of like how Facebook started. It was like you see this picture, is it hot or not? Click no, yes, no. It's like or before there was you could swipe anything. It was click yes or no, yes or no.
That's right. 'Cause
Yeah, there's no swiping back then because all the
nothing
phones
was touch.
yeah, there's no color phones or anything like that. It
That's
was
funny. So
yeah.
we're officially old.
Yep.
I'm just saying you and I were officially old now.
Yeah, I grew
We
up in
remember
the
phone books
beeper culture.
and dial phones,
Dial phones and rotary phones and
rotary phones. That was the
Thomas
see
guides and there's no GPS. Just use a Thomas guide. I got really good at Thomas guide.
AAA quick trip
Yeah.
or
Triple A quick.
quick tip or tip. I don't remember. It was like tick. I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
But
And so I
anyway,
think a lot of people get stuck in that and saying, where's the humanity of things? It's like, it's a different type of humanity. And yeah, social media can help bring people to be able to get closer quicker. We just have to remember to disconnect. And so don't let that be a reason why you don't do social media, because if you really want your business to grow, I mean,
you have to.
it's such an important component where people can do due diligence and everything like that and learn more about your business while you're asleep.
You
Imagine that.
literally.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Thank you so much. We're gonna have you back, right?
Sure. Let me know. Whatever. Yeah. I love this stuff. We can talk about this all day.
I know, I know. Well, thank you so much, Wei. And if
Yeah.
anyone has
Thank
any
you.
questions, they can reach out to the sixfigureacademy.com. I'll have all the links in the blog post for everybody. And thank you for listening.